Hello, this is the Tri-State Relay Service. A person is calling through the relay service. Have you received a relay call before?
Yeah, I have a few times.
The person who is calling you is likely wondering what you think about doing an episode together on the 2024 thriller Relay and the 2019 drama Sound of Metal. The caller would record your conversation and others will listen to it on various podcast platforms. Please speak directly to the caller and say, "Go ahead," when you're ready for a response.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Go ahead.
One moment for your episode to begin. Thank you for using the Tri-State Relay Service. Hello, movie lovers. Welcome home. My name is Amy Henserling, and you are listening to Watch This List. Today is a very special episode with my buddy Mitch on two films starring, how do you say his name? Riz Ahmed is how I'm going to say it. Rizzy.
Sounds good.
Which came sort of, I don't know, Mitch. I would say it was providential because we had talked about Sound of Metal. You had commented about Sound of Metal on a different of my videos. And then you were like, Amy, you got to see Relay because he had mentioned one of the steps in Relay. And then I was like, why do we do both of them? But I can't quite remember the context in which you were talking about Sound of Metal to me.
So I know you have an interest in films that deal with addiction and recovery. And so I'm sure that's how it came up. And that's how Relay came up. I'm not wanting to pigeonhole movie recommendations to you, but really I was actually wanting to get your insight on it because there was some elements that they had included that seemed very intentional that were related to recovery that I wasn't quite sure how it mapped on thematically.
Right. So in Relay, which is that Riz Ahmed is playing a recovering alcoholic in Relay and then a recovering drug addict in Sound of Metal, which was also the tie there for his characterizations. But in Relay, he's actually working on step 4. And I think Mitch was like, you weren't familiar exactly with what that meant and then how it tied into. But you're right. The specificity was definitely intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But why don't you give us an introduction to this film? We're going to start with it. And I don't think a lot of people have seen it, which is upsetting to me. I think it's because the trailer wasn't great.
That's the impression I'm getting. I actually like the trailer. And David McKenzie directs it and co-writes it. And he did Hell or High Water and some good stuff. So he's a known name. And Riz is obviously known. Lily James is in it. But it's a thriller. It focuses around a service that I wasn't actually aware of, but apparently is a relay service which allows you to communicate in a way that's not traceable or can't be listened in on by the government or other good or bad actors. And the protagonist helps whistleblowers who want to back out of their whistleblow to kind of cover their tracks and remove themselves from a position of being threatened by the corporation or entity that they were tattling on.
Right. And it's kind of like a throwback thriller is what I think it was called in a lot of the reviews I read, where it's like kind of in the style of 3 Days of the Condor or The Conversation, where it feels very 70s and there's kind of an emphasis on our protagonist not using tech. Like he's very old school in his methods.
Yeah, I guess increasingly movies are trying to find ways to make narratives that are still interesting in the smartphone internet age because of how many problems our tech does solve. So this kind of creates a reason for them to be avoiding the tech throughout most of the movie.
Yeah, he goes to the post office a lot. He goes to the library. It's kind of back to basics in a way. But Hell or High Water also feels that way too. So I'm not surprised he did both.
Yeah, right. So this was set. This was contemporary though, actually, wasn't it? And Hell or High Water, I can't remember. I guess it was too.
Yeah, I think it was. It's just that they intersperse like horses with like Lamborghinis. You know, there's that scene at the gas station. So I think it's kind of the merge of the old and the new, but then the old sort of being more reliable, because all the post office stuff in Relay is just like he can count on it, like Tom Hanks with FedEx, he can you know that it's gonna deliver for you.
And he works the system in some unique ways.
Yes, exactly. And it's kind of a cat and mouse movie too. Like I thought of The Fugitive a lot, and like Ransom, where both sides are really skilled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are both good pulls, and that's what you want in a suspense. You want them to be more or less evenly matched. You want your hero to always be just out a little bit ahead of the antagonist, but
right.
Yeah. And I've never been a big Sam Worthington fan, but I think he does a really great job here. He's very matter of fact. He's very threatening. The whole movie is very procedural. It gets involved in the details, the particulars of how they're accomplishing what they want to accomplish. And I love movies like that, where you have to kind of have the same patience as your protagonist, as they're making sure that everything goes off without a hitch. But then, of course, the rug's pulled out from under you, and you have to scramble and improvise.
Yeah, it's kind of, I think I was texting you a lot while I was watching it, and one of the things that we both agreed on was the Hitchcockian nature of it. Mm-hmm. I think you had said The Man Who Knew Too Much, Rear Window, definitely with the window, that she's always kind of in view and he's looking in. And then I thought of Spellbound also, like kind of his obsession with someone who's far away who doesn't know him, but he gets very, very invested in her.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the way that he gets invested in her is so interesting and unbelievable, to the point where you just have to, I was just saying, that's just, movie magic, this is okay, and stopped kind of thinking about it too critically, which was probably what they wanted me to do.
How so do you mean? That's an interesting statement. How do you mean?
Well, so I would say at some point you get the impression that, she's kind of falling for him. She's never seen him, right? And she's
never heard him.
She never even heard him, but right. she's sort of flirting with him. And you're just like, well, that doesn't make any sense, but okay. It
kind of makes sense in like a bodyguard sort of way, where like somebody's like protecting you, and you have these feelings about the fact that they're helping you out.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's just like this could be a 75-year-old woman or something.
That's true.
For all she knows.
Good point. That's fair. Because nobody knows who this guy is. The way that she hires him, the guy doesn't even know who he is. Like, he is completely, this is why I was thinking of Enemy of the State, just completely off the grid, like in a silo somewhere.
Oh yeah, Enemy of the State.
Like Gene Hackman. Cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my brain is always pulling from other things. I don't know why. It's hard to
and I think it definitely wanted to be in conversation with other things too. But I'm glad movies like this can still be made that are this exciting. Whatever else is going on, we've got this this thread with the steps that maybe I don't fully understand. You don't have to understand anything to like enjoy this movie. It's a heck of a ride.
Well, I do want to touch on the deeper part of this, because one thing that stuck out to me was the lunch scene with I think it's his sponsor, the cop
I think
lady.
So. Yeah.
And so she's saying a line that stuck out to me was that you don't want to replace one addiction with another. Basically, she was saying, like, what do you do with your job? What do you do with your life? And it seems like he was just replacing the drink with another high stakes situation. And then, like, the line you texted me, we're addicts, we do addicty things, also kind of sticks out. So I wonder what the commentary there is, other than just that we can't maybe escape that. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, that's kind of why I wanted to pick your brain, because a lot of times I think in movies you get the addict subplot, or you have them in recovery as just sort of a shorthand for the fact that that they've had troubles or they've gone through something. I feel like it's sort of a low-hanging kind of character development device sometimes, But yeah, from that scene on, I thought, okay, maybe it's not. Maybe it's a little more than that. And he's not forthcoming about what his job is. Even then, with her, she's like, "Is it illegal?" And he's like, and it's not always a bad sign when you're forthcoming. That is to say, there are things worth not being forthcoming about, but a lot of times it is a bad sign. If you feel like you can't divulge something or share something with someone about yourself, that's at least a yellow flag. So it's good that she digs in a little more there.
But then when the later scene, when he's sharing in the meeting and he says, oh, it was because that when he left his job, he felt like he should have said something and he signed an NDA. And then so it seemed like I felt this movie was more about making amends than it was taking inventory. But in that way, I felt like that sort of supplied his impetus for wanting to do this.
Can you give me a flyby of the gist of those two things? Make amends makes more sense to me, but
yeah. So what he says when they're at the diner or whatever it is or they're eating lunch together, is that he's on step 4 and she's like, "Oh, it's your fearless and thorough moral inventory," which is basically writing resentments. You're supposed to make a list of your moral failures and things that have happened to you, and then also your resentments, so that you can kind of purge them. And then step 5 is confessing them. So I'm not entirely sure how he's doing that in Relay. I think it's more that he's trying to make up for his past by helping others do the thing that he wishes he did. That was my interpretation anyway.
Yeah, you were onto something big with that, that he was trying to sort of offset this part of the program vicariously through someone else.
Exactly. Instead of doing it himself directly, it was like vicarious amends.
And man, you had a great pull of a line that just flew over my head when he is chastising his client about not following the steps. It just didn't even register to me, the connection there.
He said, I think it was, if you don't follow the steps, we can't protect you.
Yeah, good grief. So
yeah,
I think it's more still in the realm of him wanting to just kind of have someone else be rescue someone else. I guess he wants to fast track to being like in the sponsor chair almost. He's the hero.
Yeah, but he has, when he goes in his bunker and you see all those folders, you can see that he's done this. This is not his first time, right? So it seems like no matter how many times he does this, it's obviously not it's not giving him the payoff that is perhaps his incentive. You
say you didn't really see him taking inventory so far as you could tell. Is there a way you see him maybe misunderstanding the nature of the step?
Yeah, maybe I don't know. I feel like he's not making it really personal, because the only time that he confesses anything about himself is in that one share. Otherwise, we really don't know him. So yeah, actually the movie is kind of anti that, because we really aren't let in at all. I should have looked up why David Mackenzie even had this in there, or why the writer, I think Justin Pataki or something, the writer must have had an intention there.
Yeah, I'm sure. So I guess a lot of times when you get like a hero complex like this, it is a way to ignore your moral resentments. It's like, if I can just do the good thing, then the bad things that I've done won't matter as much. Like, that is going to absolve me.
Or it's like in the act of helping someone else through a similar problem or an identical problem, you are creating absolution for yours, which that's not at all how it works. And that's why the step is so necessary and nobody wants to do it. A lot of people get stuck on that one because they don't want to look at their stuff. Nobody does.
So, that's the most. Now, the more we talk about it, the more terrifying that step seems.
Yeah, it's not fun.
If I could just, submerge myself into some kind of heroic task that's so meticulous and requires so much of my time and energy and brain power. But, he's still going to these meetings, and he's still basically staying sober. It's interesting.
Yeah, but I wonder, though, I don't know what you think about this, but I wonder if part of the reason that was his sponsor because he needed her later. Like, I mean...
Cynical.
No, well, or just that I told you the movie was relentlessly practical, right? So, yeah. I mean, what are the odds, okay, that his sponsor is a cop?
Yeah, and you see a lot of reviews and criticism saying is sort of a Deus Ex Machina situation, but maybe it's more like you're saying, it's just like him being
intentional.
Pragmatic.
Exactly. And and that's kind of the addict way is to use people to your own ends.
Okay, to use people to your own ends. I said earlier, and just kind of flagged myself when I said it, that he kind of works. I was thinking of the post office when I said it. He works the system like these, forwarding addresses and different ways that he can get around people. But is there a way that he's working the steps, the recovery? Like, is that a system that can be worked? I don't know. Can you work it and still have like a good end? Or when you work something, is that always going to turn out badly for you?
Well, there's a big tell here that he's working them alone, okay? Because that's not supposed to be something that you're just doing. You have your sponsor is literally like a supervisor in a way where they're supervising everything that you're doing. So the fact that she didn't know what he was doing already is like, well, you're doing it wrong if you're doing it alone. If he's trying to work the steps, that's kind of funny, actually, like that somebody would try to work them but not work them. That is a fascinating idea, which actually brings us to the spoiler part of this, which is that he gets completely played, right? So he is trying to play these things maybe, and then it completely turns on him despite his, efficiency.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's like whenever there's goodwill involved, like goodwill is always a risk. And so like, of course you could take advantage of the goodwill, I would think of people that you might interact with at meetings or your sponsor. Like you could take advantage of the fact that to be in a relationship, you have to trust someone. So yeah, it's sad and it's great. And are we going to just go full spoiler here?
Go for it. Yeah. Because you said we had to. I asked you and you were like, we have to, Amy.
I believe so. Yeah, I really believe so. Because like, I feel like the minute what he's supposed to do in steps or in life that he's not doing is being vulnerable. And when he becomes vulnerable, he gets a kick in the teeth for it. He gets tased.
Betrayed.
For it, so.
Yeah. And then it's like, whoa, his entire reality is completely tumbled. And then he's like, well, what do you want from me? I mean, he does kind of pick it up very quickly. Like, okay, he realizes, but he's still one step ahead of them in a way. But yeah, I think player got played is kind of a good metric for this. Even though he is our hero, it's possible that moment is one of true humility.
Yeah. Maybe he was... when you think you're at rock bottom, you might still have a rock bottom yet. Or there's, so, I don't want to mess with the term too much, but I guess there's lots of potential rock bottoms along the way.
Well, what did you feel like was the significance of that twist? Like for you, what did you feel like, besides it being just like a twist for an action movie? I mean, do you feel like there was anything that said to you or that you felt?
Yeah.
For the character?
So, and the reason why I felt like we couldn't avoid talking about it is because I think he had to have everything taken away from him. And like, he's feeling hopeful. He's feeling vulnerable for the first time. And even still, he still gets screwed over. And it's life. That's the nature of it. That this can still happen. That there's so many available downfalls for us. And when they come, but when they come, you still have to keep going. You still can't fall off the wagon.
Right. Oh, which brings us, good point. Thank you for saying that, because that brings us to the bar. Okay, so we have to talk about this was, I think, the most poignant scene where, and it hadn't even happened yet that he knew he was betrayed. It was just that Sarah Grant was in danger, but he goes to a bar and he's an alcoholic and they pour the drink and you're like, no, like as he's doing it, you're like, no, don't do it. And he does take a drink and then he spits it out. And I was like, whoa, I don't think I've ever seen somebody do that in a film, like an alcoholic.
No, I loved it though. I thought it was so effective.
I did too.
And I mean, just like, he was, you couldn't get him closer to the edge than that. But that would have, if he had drank that, it would have killed him, because everything that comes next, like, he had to have every wit about him. And he wouldn't have made it. So, I mean, it really is, it's just like with anything, like, it's like, I think a lot of times if you're in a scenario or in a cycle of failure, you think, this is going to be like, the last few times where, it was bad and I hated it and I got back up, because that's what you have to do. And you kind of do that as a means to talk yourself into it. Like, I'm going to take the drink because I know it's going to be bad after that. I'm going to have to do all this, and it's going to be, I'm going to feel terrible. But in a few weeks, I'll be fine. And it's not always true. Like, sometimes you get in the car and, you crash and you die. So I love everything about that scene.
I do too. And I told you it reminded me a lot of Dr. Sleep when Ewan McGregor is at the bar at the Overlook, and then he's like, oh, take your medicine. And he's like, I don't want it. Like, I'm done. Although I do think it's telling that the precursor to him finding out that he's betrayed and that he's been double-crossed is that he went to a bar. I mean, there may be something to that. Like, that he went there. He didn't exactly relapse, but he did go there, which is significant. I mean, you know what I mean? In terms of recovery, it's significant if you ever just walk into a bar, even with the intention, even if you don't do it. The fact that you're there, like, actually means something.
There's a kind of consequence. It's just like a kind of consequence to that action.
Or it's kind of a representation of how unhealthy he is, maybe. Or how vulnerable he is, like you said, how he's kind of unguarded right then. He's the whole movie, he's becoming progressively more and more unguarded, and he's not acting professionally in the way that he would if he weren't in love with her. Kind of like Samson, right? Like, he's unguarded with Delilah, and the more that he lets her in, the worse it is. Even though she gives him so many warnings, like, they're coming to attack you, he still keeps going back. So there's, I don't know, some part of that unraveling is happening with him.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah. But she really takes advantage, and she seems completely unremorseful. Like, she's like, this is for whatever his name was, Hoffman. Like, we're just doing this. It's just business. It's business, Michael, not personal.
Yeah, and once you find out that she's with the bad guys, everything else, you're like, how did I get fooled? Because I was like cheering for their love story. And, I know, it's like, Mitch. Obviously she's like being so seductive the whole time. And you're like, why would she be that way? Movie magic. And that's what Riz is saying. He's like, I don't know how she knows that I'm this good looking cool guy, but,
who listens to the Who.
Yeah. So I liked how in, their hands I was, although, I mean, it is like an obvious twist on one hand. Like,
I know. I didn't guess that at all.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Maybe we're too trusting, though. Like, maybe we just believe, we just like believe at face value.
We were just like, there is character, not a bad way to be. Yeah, I had to eat a lot of crow because my wife was like, "Do you think she's a bad guy?" And I was like, "Come on, read the room." I was like, "Read the room." That's like a rookie.
Read the room.
Rookie interpretation.
I'm a cinephile. Yeah.
Exactly.
I watch a lot of movies.
Yeah, that is exactly pretty much what I said. I was like, I always like look at my letterbox. I was like, I've seen over 3,000 movies. Okay, I think I would know if that was a twist, and it's just.
That's like Ron Burgundy, where he's like, I read a lot of books, People know me. Yeah, I told you before, like my mom was like, oh, she's bad. Like, and then it kept, like, everything that happened, like she figured it out in the first 20 minutes, and then everything that happened supported the fact that she was bad. And I was like, all right, now I feel really dumb. But I didn't want to believe that, Mitch. I didn't want to feel like she was doing that to this poor guy.
I was cheering for the love story too. Like I'm a sucker for that stuff in movies. I'm like, yeah, I know. Great. They're gonna get together. And
this lonely guy, loner, who's like, at first, actually, I thought that he might be deaf. Like in the beginning,
we thought that too. Yeah,
yeah. And then when I rewatched it the second time, there's a scene where he's literally writing down messages that were left for him, and I was like, of course he can hear, but for some reason, maybe because of Sound of Metal, I just thought maybe he was like hearing impaired, because that's what the relay service
and because he wasn't talking and he was using the relay service.
Exactly.
And the relay person said maybe this person is, and so like everything else you'd be like, well, maybe he could have like heard this in this way, or like you would just kind of find justifications for it. But it was interesting how long they kept him quiet. I like how long they kept him quiet.
Me too.
Sort of that internality. I think this is obviously what you would do if you could. Like, I have to not be forthcoming because of my job, or I have to be alone a lot of time because of my job. It's like, I think a lot of the things, the things that he doesn't want to take inventory about, this particular job protects him from. And he gets to say it. He's like, I help people. I mean, I do something that nobody else can do. So try my headphone.
Well, and also I think isolation is kind of a trait of the addict. Like addicts are isolated, they're alienated when they're in. But I think that this was a very interesting. It's not an addiction movie, obviously, but it's kind of like Weapons, where there's like clearly something, because Weapons, like, I don't know if it starts off, but there's a lot of going into the liquor store, drinking, in that movie, and it's like it's a major subtext that doesn't necessarily get addressed directly.
Right. That's what I mean. Yeah. Sometimes I think it's just a nice shorthand for the writers to, give a little more depth to the characters and things.
Unless it's Stephen King, then it's legit, because there's something there. Which brings us to Sound of Metal. Okay, so Sound of Metal, I'm sure, is something that most people have seen. Riz Ahmed again, who won the Oscar for it. I thought it was interesting that we have
did he? I don't think
he
so,
did.
Right? No way.
Yeah, he did.
I don't think so. Fact checkers, please.
Mitch, are you telling me you sat down to record with me today and you didn't know that he won Best Actor? Google it right now, please.
Okay,
we'll wait.
I'm on it. Okay,
I can't believe you don't think that. I have a picture of him with his girlfriend
he did
holding
win an
the Oscar.
But it wasn't for Sound of Metal.
What was
it was
for
like a short film, I think, that he was like a producer on or something.
Are you serious right now?
Yeah.
You're going to make me look so terrible. And now
No. You don't look terrible, because the fact is, and maybe you can just get rid of all this, but the fact is he should have won an Oscar for this.
I thought for sure he did, but maybe it's because I saw him holding the Oscar that I assumed that it was for Sound of Metal.
Yeah, it's funny too, because like in the Relay trailer, it's like Academy Award winner Riz Ahmed. That's a little deceptive, because
how
it wasn't
could he
for
not
acting.
Have won? Who won?
I know, he was so good. I don't know who won that year.
All right, well now I'm gonna look that part up.
Yeah,
I gave you a hard time for something that I did, so that's great.
It's just like when I said that wasn't the twist.
That's right. 2019 Oscars Best Actor is what we need. Well, okay, I do know that it won for sound and sound editing. So that makes sense, because it was Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, no.
Yikes.
Was he nominated?
No.
He was nominated, though, right? Riz was?
Yeah.
Good.
Yes. And so was the guy who plays Joe, Paul Raci.
Yeah. Oh,
he's
my
phenomenal.
Goodness. Both,
I know.
very deserving. Yeah.
I know. So, my bad. Riz Ahmed is an Oscar winner, though, just not for what is arguably one of the best performances I've ever seen, which is ridiculous.
You said it.
But I guess he needed to sing to get it. So what I was going to say was that I thought it was funny how Relay was directed by David Mackenzie, and then this movie is directed by Darius
Mortar.
What is the last name? Mortar. Yeah, and so both are DM. They both have the same initials.
How about that? That's my
Isn't that
David
strange?
Mitchell is my name, so it's all coming together now.
Whoa. Your name isn't Mitch? Who am I talking to?
No. Yeah.
What is Mitch from then?
No, yeah, my name is David Mitchell, Caps. So.
Oh, Mitch. Like Mitchell. Got it now.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's all coming together. And actually, Sound of Metal was written by two brothers, interestingly.
And Abraham, the brother, did like some of the soundtrack, right?
Yes. So tell us about this movie just in case nobody's heard of it. Or nobody's seen it.
Okay, well, like you said, 2019, and this follows a guy and his girlfriend. It's Riz Ahmed.
Ruben.
Ruben is his name. Thank you. And I don't know his girlfriend's name.
Lou.
Lou. Yeah, Lou. And so they play heavy metal, like punk rock kind of shows, and they travel the country. They're in kind of like a paradise together, so it seems. But suddenly, he suffers a dramatic loss in hearing to the point of deafness. And he is an addict, and so that's kind of swirling in the background, like this big crisis. Also with him trying to maintain his sobriety, he gets checked into a home for deaf addicts, and he finds a community there. And all the while, he's hoping to get cochlear implants.
Yes, and he's extremely, extremely in denial about, like, he does not want to acknowledge that he's deaf. He's like, no, we're going to keep going on tour. We're going to keep doing the same thing we're doing. I'm not going to go there. We're going to live in our home. It'll get better. And it's like, whoa, dude, no. Like, your life as you know it is over. And it takes him the whole duration to come to terms. I don't even know if he does at the very end, honestly.
I think he does, but I guess we'll get to it. I mean, because, yeah, I mean, the movie does a great job of just showing you how suddenly traumatic this is, because he does music. That's his whole life. And
probably how he got
like,
deaf.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. And everything's taken away from him in like the span of 48 hours. Because you get this montage of them driving to the next show. They like have just cut an album or something, and they're getting some press and like some zines, and they're just on the scene, and they're just talking. They're talking the whole time about everything. They don't stop talking the whole trip. They're like driving.
And they dance and listen to music,
and they just have this regimen. He's doing so good. Like he gets up, he eats his breakfast. Good.
He makes his
breakfast.
Shake.
He works out, like it's just paradise. So it's so heartbreaking to see it like suddenly snatched. But there's this great juxtapositioning between that montage of them driving to the one show and the trip of them driving to the home, and it's just like dead silence. They can't talk at all. Oh man.
And then when he goes to the drugstore to pick up and he's like, I can't hear, dude. Like I can't hear. You're. The way that Riz like portrays this character is so like you feel that you would react the exact same way, and it feels extremely authentic. Like I don't feel like he's acting at all. And he's like, I can't hear. Do you get it? Like, and he loses it so many times in the movie at the beginning.
Yeah.
Where
everything that was simple for him and everything that was pleasurable for him is gone. The way he portrays, I mean, I'm sure Rami Malek agrees, man, that this is embarrassing.
It is embarrassing. That movie stunk. I'm sorry. I like Queen, but like, good Lord, no. It's a biopic on top of everything. Okay. Also, when they call, so there is a sponsor in this one too, even though it's over the phone, but they call a sponsor and because he's like wanting to smoke a cigarette. And then the first thing that Joe asks him when he gets there is like, have you wanted to use since you lost your hearing? So, and this was like a heroin addict too. I mean, that's intense. And he's been sober for 4 years. He doesn't relapse at all, but I love the emphasis on that. And then I also love the sign. I wrote down that we had to talk about, do you know the sign for addict that they kept doing? Do you remember?
Yeah, the hook in the mouth.
The hook, yes. So it was like, I watched very carefully because I loved how it's like a fish hook, like you're being caught. But every time they did it, they would he would put his head back. So it was like going in, the movement of going in.
It's so
and then I also love
effective.
sit. Yeah. That one stood out to me when he's talking to him about, can he just sit? Like, tell us about that scene, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Where he's telling him to journal.
He gets a sense, and it's amazing how perceptive he is. He's very pastoral, and he sees Ruben like fixing a gutter, and he kind of like is weirdly like confrontational about it. He says, "You don't have to fix anything here," and he just is so perceptive that he's able to see that Ruben doing this is not just him like being appreciative and nice and trying to help out around. He sees it as something like that's speaking to something that's unsettled in him. It's possible he gets wind that he's using his computer. He checks his email a few times, kind of sneaks up. Well, we don't know, but he asks him to start in the morning, to start his day at like 5 a.m., sitting in his study with just a notebook. All he does is write. However he wants to write, whatever he wants to write, not drawing, writing. He wants him to kind of have that space carved out.
And he tells him basically that I think the goal of the exercise is so that one day he can walk in that room and not have to write. Because he's like, I want you to just sit. And if you can't just sit, then you write. Yeah, and then he's like, and then what I'm going to be doing, like Joe said this, the counselor, he was like, what I'm going to be doing is the same thing as you. I'm going to be writing and sitting. So there's this even though he's telling him to do something by himself, there's this sense of I'm with you, and like I have been sober for longer than you, but I still do this. I found that to be very comforting. The idea that like someone who's much further along than you is doing the same thing as you still.
Oh man, yeah, that is good.
Means that you don't have to feel bad that you need to do it, because they do too. You know what I mean? There's such a different feeling.
Yeah, that is so good. On the signs, I did want to ask you, what did you think was up with the sign they gave him for Ruben? Yeah, what is
right?
Did you read anything into that?
I think he was saying when he showed up, he was like an owl, and he went like owl, wide-eyed. So I think that may literally be why they chose the name Ruben, because it had that. Because Riz's eyes are also very big, you know, and they're very expressive. So I loved that about it, and that they went out of their way to say like, "I love your name, Ruben," you know. But yeah, what else stood out to you in terms of his relationship with Joe? Because I thought that was the best part of the movie.
Oh, for sure, yeah, and I like how paternal he is, and I like how thoughtful he is about him in particular as a person and organizing for his well-being. I also love, like, we never see his sponsor, but I love they call his sponsor, and like within an hour, he's like moved heaven and earth to find him this place and
Hector, I think.
Yeah, Hector.
Yeah.
So I love that. Like, it's just there's so many heartbreaking moments in this movie, and Lou too. Like, she immediately realizes like, no, this is not going to work. This is not going to be good, and you have to find help, or it's going to be bad. And I've seen bad. And like they say that I know I'm just rambling, but they say that. He's been sober for 4 years, and they've been together for 4 years. And so it's kind of like that interesting parallel. But yeah, Joe, he does something that's, I think, goes harder than any like scene of loving kindness that I've ever seen in a movie. And I don't want to get too far ahead, but it's when he's basically dismissing him from the community. And I just can't hardly stand it, trying to get into the headspace of someone you care about, thinking about having to do that. Not only because you care about the people, other people in the community, but because you care so much about that person. And to like the amount of like trust in a process, and the amount of trust in a person, and the amount of trust in God that you have to do something like that, I just think is unbelievable. Yeah,
I agree. And the wisdom, to me, that scene at the end is like, this is not his first rodeo, right? But it still visibly pains him to have to do it. You can tell he's just like, oh, don't make me do this. Like it's so painful for Joe. He can see what's going on because he's like, Ruben, you look and you sound like an addict. And like, I don't know. He has such a good way of saying, like, speaking the truth in love. It is that scene where he's like, I don't know what circumstance or what decisions led to the circumstance that you're in, but boundaries, and here are my boundaries.
Can you talk about, I mean, so he's not, Ruben's not using, he's not like squirreling for like cash to go get drugs or something. Well, why do you think that he says that? Like, you look and like
because he's asking for like 25 grand.
But it feels like, in the moment I'm like, okay, but it's not to feed his addiction. So what is it about what's happening there that is addictive?
Right.
It's an addict doing an addicty thing, but.
Okay. So have you seen like Beautiful Boy or,
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So like drug addicts, particularly the way they're portrayed in film, is stealing, asking for money, like, I'll pay you back, man. That, I think what he meant was that energy and the compulsion and
it's like a desperation, a discontentment,
and a break from reality. Like, it's almost like the person doesn't even realize the weight of what they're asking, the time.
Yeah, you're asking me, a guy that runs a halfway house, to give you $25K, and it makes no sense.
It's because all he can focus on is, I mean, it's not exactly a fix, but do you know what I mean? It's that complete blinders where you're like asking something completely unreasonable of somebody and you don't even know it. You don't know the gravity of what you're asking, but you're asking it very casually. I think that's what he meant, was like, you're not here, and that's what he's like. I wonder, look, when you've been in that room, what have you been doing? Like,
yeah. Have you ever experienced any moments of stillness?
Yes. And obviously the way he's acting, it seems like, no, you haven't.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you wouldn't be asking.
There's some kind of lapse. And I love Ruben's response to him too. Like, on the outside, he's like, no, I'm not an addict. It's like, oh, and then he kind of like, he catches himself because he knows he's not supposed to, like, they start every meeting like, I'm an addict, right? I don't know. I love that, like, he realized, oh, okay, it's good.
Sorry. He's like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Thank you. I think it was like he didn't realize until Joe confronted him what he was doing. And then it was like, okay, never mind. Like, I'm ashamed. I'm I shouldn't have. That was stupid. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is. It's like, it breaks that bubble when the person sees the truth of what they're asking. It's like, okay, you're back in the real world. So, but it was hard for Joe because he knows that he's got to let him go. And I think, what do you think about the idea that like he has to let him go just because he got the implants? I almost think that he would have had to do it just for that reason, even if he weren't asking for money, because their culture is so much like, this isn't something to fix.
Yeah. I think, I mean, it's hard because I think to his mind, the getting the implants and the addictive nature kind of rearing its head are inextricable. Like, if he had found these moments of stillness, if he had kind of recognized the principles that they'd been operating under, then he wouldn't have done this, or at the very least, he wouldn't have done it, furtively, kind of sneaking off, selling his stuff, kind of just showing back up, so many days later. with it done. I mean, it's like when you do something like that, you're like, you must have thought that was wrong if you felt you had to go around the bend to do it.
And that it really didn't work out because the very final act of the film is turning him off and wanting to be in silence.
Yeah, and I love so much that this moment with Joe, which could be like credits could roll after that, but you've got another half hour left, and the last half hour is so impactful and painful. When he gets to travel back to be with his girlfriend Lou again. She's in her father's home. She's doing like just so substantially better from where she was
without him.
Yeah, and it's like, I do believe, and the dad has this great moment with him where he's like, I used to be so mad at you. I feel like you took my daughter away from you. But now I thank you because I realized you gave her a place to go when she didn't trust me. And these issues with, her mother had ended her life. And so she went into this space of total chaos, like this scene of music where they're just, it's really rough. It's a rough community. And I don't mean like it's like intrinsically bad or anything. I just mean it's a place where she's like regurgitating her demons, and she's like, there's this song that she does where she's like, I want this thing to eat, like, give me something to eat. And then it drifts into like a desire for purity. And you're just like, she's like exercising her demons every night on the stage. But now she's back home. She's in a loving home in a safe place. And she's still doing music. And she's healthy again. And it's not that Ruben is going to necessarily drag her back into a poisonous world, but it's just the ships that are passing have passed in the night, I guess.
Right. And then I think he realizes what Joe was saying all along, which is that, what does he say? He says, we're not trying to fix this. We're trying to fix this, not this.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I feel is the ultimate point, which is he does all these distractions because even the implants, to a certain extent, it's a lack of acceptance of what has happened to him and that some certain things are over. Like the music is over. It's just a lot, though. It's a lot to put on him in such a short period of time. And that's why I think it's so heartbreaking the whole time, because he's faced with having to let go of tremendous things, not just one thing. It's basically his whole life as he knows it is over.
Yeah, like in Relay, he loses everything. And
right.
What I like so much about Joe's dismissal of him, he says the line about, have you found any moments of stillness? Because to me, that place is the kingdom of God, and that place will never abandon you. And it's so important that he tells him that, and that Ruben knows that, because literally, even like the healthiest place he's ever been is abandoning him actively in that moment. Like he's dismissing him.
Right.
He's going to go to his girlfriend, the other healthiest place he's known. She's abandoning him. Everything, like he loses everything. And there's nothing worse, Amy, than there is nothing that's going to make you confront yourself more than silence. Like, this is my nightmare. Like being deaf. Like I had a job one time where I was at Amazon, and I was a picker, and I walked the floor 12 miles a night, and they didn't let you have headphones. And so you're just alone with your thoughts all night. And it was, there was so much that had to get dredged up at that time, because, all night long, just by myself. And like for Ruben to be in that position, it's a real nightmare.
And it's inside your own head. Can you imagine? Mm-hmm. Like, no escape. But that's kind of the point, is that if all of us could be at home inside our own heads, it's like, that's peace, right? That's all these distractions and everything that we use to escape is to prevent that silence. It's not just silence as in no noise. It's silence as in your thoughts are calmed. That's why the writing was so important, because it's like you get those out so that you can have peace, inner peace, mm-hmm. So it's not just quiet, which I think is what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like everything else for him it's like he gets the implants in it. That's so alienating too. Like the way he hears the sound, like the first time they turn on and he gets so hopeful. He's like, oh, thank God. And then just immediately it's like, whoa, what's going on? His performance there is And the sound design, well-deserved Oscar.
Yeah. And you feel it, don't you? Aren't you like, you feel like you can't hear like the whole movie because they put you in his shoes. And so you feel you're straining to hear. You know, they have the audience straining too. And you really feel.
They put you in his perspective as best they can.
And how awful it would be like when he's at the party and it's like, you know? And there's like this tinny sound with the implants. Also, it's not just like muffled. There's like a sound with the aid.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's so isolating. But I think Joe knew that, you know. That's why he was trying to say, you know, if you can just be in our community, you would be a lot happier.
Yeah, you said it's not his first rodeo, and that's apt because I'm sure he's seen other people kind of go through this process and realize that it didn't fix anything in the past.
I also my favorite line in the whole film is something that Riz says or Ruben says when he's on the phone with this sponsor, and it's kind of a quick line that he just kind of regurgitates, but I love this. Serenity is something you get when you stop wishing for a different past. I was like, whoa. Like, obviously we say the serenity prayer before every meeting, but I had never heard it defined as not wishing for a different past. Mm-hmm. And in Ruben's case, it's like serenity is not wishing for a different future.
Yeah. Future. Or a different present. Man, that's good stuff. And he was so in that he was just kind of like regurgitating it back to him like dismissively, like I know what you're gonna say.
I know.
And but like it's like exactly what he basically needed. Like it's just he couldn't receive it in that moment.
Yeah, and I also think so you wrote about Smashing Machine yesterday, right? I think it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And one of the things that when I was reading a review, I was thinking of him saying like, "Don't work my program," was one of the lines that Dwayne Johnson says in the movie, and that energy is definitely in Sound of Metal too, where he's just like trying to control things and he can't. Like it's almost like his personal space and everything is just being invaded by people that are trying to help him, but he wants everyone to leave him alone and let him do what he wants, and he just absolutely can't. And then he can't surrender to the fact that he needs help.
It's sad too because there's a part of him, it seems like that does gravitate to what's going on at the home, and like he does find his way into the community in a meaningful way. He learns the sign language. He's helpful there. He's useful, but it's like things keep encroaching on, invading, like they on his space and reminding him of. It's like this gnawing desire. I mean, I think everybody can relate to this. Like, if I could just live like this forever and not want something else, if never have these errant desires again, then I would be happy. But here they are, and like how to battle them and what you do with them is the whole thing. Sitting in the room every morning and writing.
Well, and I wonder too, like, what do you think about the line of where he says, like, if I were to die today, like nobody would care. You know, that part where he has this like. There's also, I think, ambition there where he's like, I would just disappear. And like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing here? If I go out, and he's like, that's good. That's life. But clearly there's something within him that wants, I don't know, something, not just to exist. He wants to contribute or be remembered. I don't know if it's artistically. What do you think about that?
I love that part. Well, you know, Joe's already told him a few scenes earlier. He's like, you've made a big difference here. Like, people really have come to rely on you. And he's like, I'd love it if you stayed on and helped in more like of a official leadership type role or something. But here, like, too, I like that when he says that, Joe doesn't disagree with him. He's like, you're right. Like, yeah, this place is going to beat you down. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's how vital these moments of stillness are. That's how vital the kingdom of God is. You have to find it or you're not going to survive. And you get the impression that, you know, he's just been through it in his life. You know, he's got all these tattoos, like, just kill me. And like, just like,
I know
he's suffered. And it's like, this keeps happening. But it's like, this is it. This is, if you, life is going to do that. Like, it is going to absolutely relentlessly come after you. And if you can't find these moments of stillness, then it's going to be over for you. And that's what he's so desperate to get him to understand. It's really good.
And the scene when he's with Lou and he's like, what I need is a gun in my mouth. I need a gun in my mouth. You know, there's several lines where you can feel that self-destructive, but then to me, the line of like, I have to do something or no one will care. There's something in him that doesn't want to just like lay down and die. And he has a fight in him the whole time.
That's right. He really does. He does have a fight in him the whole time. That's the best way to put it. And I think too, something that really keeps him going is Lou. It really got me unexpectedly when they said goodbye the first time. He's like,
"Oh, you're my heart."
You say, "You're my heart, Lou," and she says, "If you hurt yourself, I'm gonna hurt myself." And she's like, makes it very clear. He's like, "You have to promise me." And I think that he would have, but she keeps him going to a degree that people can, even if they're not going to inhabit the same space in your life that they once did. Is a degree that people that you care about can keep you going and keep you striving to be a better person. And I love their second goodbye too. Like, I like how much she inhabits the film, even though she's not in it as much. He checks what's going on. He knows that it's over. He says, "It's okay. You saved my life. It's okay."
It's brutal. That first goodbye scene is just it's so hard to watch. You just immediately, like, I immediately start crying.
Me too.
When they're saying
it got
goodbye.
Me this time for sure. I don't remember crying the first time I watched it, but this time it got me good.
I know, because it really, really, there's no pretense, and it's so, he's like, whoa, you know, like, let's talk
I need
about
something
this.
more from you.
Right. And then she's like pointing to the, like, shooting up when she's like, if you hurt yourself, she points to her arm. Like so it's also that, like,
I thought she was
almost
pointing,
like symbiotically.
I thought she was pointing to I thought she had some like cuts on her arm and some claw marks on her
arm. Maybe so. I thought she was like doing the vein.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming they did it together and then they both got clean.
Yeah, that's a good thought. Maybe so.
Because she seemed to understand, you know, he's like, I don't think it's a big deal that I smoked a cigarette, but Lou does. Obviously, I think because she understands what that means. It doesn't seem like she's just an outsider. It seems like she knows what that means.
Although, like, she doesn't like get a moment where it's not like she calls a sponsor either, even though this would be like a D-Day for her too, you would think.
Yeah, but I think she kind of knows that she just needs to get him help. I mean, she's kind of just completely focusing on, because he's like way beyond, I mean, he can't even hear at all. I mean, it's not. And then there's a great line at the beginning with the doctor where he says something like, "You'll never get it back. Like, what you had, it will never return. It's not like
you need to protect what you have left."
Exactly. And then what is his response to that conversation? He goes and plays the drums as loudly as humanly possible. So that's another thing that I thought was so telling. Somebody's like, "Hey, you need to protect what you have left." And what's your instinctive reaction? Mess it up further.
This planet.
So maybe that's why he couldn't really stay in the community, even though it was good for him. Maybe he just isn't ready to, like, be of service yet. I don't know.
Okay, so you may be right in regarding the ending. You know, when he loses Lou again, he steps out. He's just all kinds of
he's got no IRV, no car,
noise everywhere. Yeah, he has nothing. And he just sits down on a bench and shuts it off. To me, I think against all odds, and, you know, because of the wisdom and trust of Joe, like, he did over time find that moment of stillness. And, like, when he was ready to go there, it was ready for him. And he had the tools. He couldn't quite, I guess he hadn't lost enough yet. He had nothing else to lean on. He's like, okay, I can get the implants. Maybe that'll get me there. I could go back to Lou. Maybe that'll get me there. He can't go back to this home. He's got nothing. And so he finds a kingdom.
Do you feel that this is, I didn't think about this until just now, the way you said that, is Do you feel that this is kind of the take up your cross and follow me? Like, do you feel that if we don't lose everything, what we consider to be everything, that we really can't make that step? Do you think that's a necessary prerequisite to any kind of transformation?
I don't know. I'm. It's because I'm so lukewarm that I'm saying I don't know. It's like I think about
lukewarm on what? On the subject, or what do you mean? Lukewarm. I would not ever use that word to describe you.
Thank you. I'm just invoking the biblical spit out of the mouth.
Okay, gotcha.
I think, the rich man getting through the eye of a rich man being saved, like someone that has everything, they're never gonna. I think that's blessed are the meek, blessed are the poor in spirit. All of that stuff is here. The people that are the most broken kind of have the most access to that place. So,
but how would you put that in modern contextualization? Like your life, because you're obviously not going to lose everything in your life, and you're a believer, right? So, if that were a prerequisite, then we'd all have to lose everything we have in order to get to this place. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, to the extent that I have confidence in my beliefs, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the belief that I have is weak. You know what I'm saying? What would make it stronger? Losing more. Do I want that? Nobody wants to put a cross on their back, man. Nobody wants to go to Calvary. Nobody. I just give me the RV, man. Let me ride down the road with Lou. Like, I'll scream on stage every night, and make some kind of belief emerge from this. Don't take everything. I don't know what's going to happen in my life, or there's ways I could characterize moments in my life as extreme loss that led to greater belief. But I mean, the loss is it's crucial. Like you can't go without it. You can't go without suffering. And it's like the more you keep trying to dodge the suffering, the necessary suffering. I'm not saying like be masochist. And we've talked about this before. It's funny. This is coming back to Barry. It's probably just because reality is shaped this way. But no, I really do think that there has to be measures of loss. There's measures of loss. But I've never experienced anything like Ruben. And that's why I'm not going to experience that silence that he's going to be able to experience.
I think it's a tricky thing because a lot of times this kind of subject is brought up in the wake of some sort of great loss where people are looking for an explanation or looking for. So typically this kind of conversation would come up when someone's like, oh, I just lost my dad. What's the purpose of this grief in that? But I'm thinking of it more in terms of the daily crux of, like Whitaker Chambers says, like every man hangs on the cross of himself. Well, sometimes we don't, right? Sometimes we don't get up there and actually really surrender the things that are holding on to us. Sometimes we indulge in them. A lot of times we indulge in them. So I'm trying to think of it in terms of when if that is the call, how do we do that without externally losing everything? Mm-hmm. If the call is some sort of loss. Do you see what I mean? It's almost like I'm asking, can you choose it yourself without it having to fall completely apart outside of you?
Yeah, I'm trying not to speak too symbolically too much of the time, but I think maybe it has something to do with the nature of idolatry. I'm never going to have to also just be in a position of healthy, fruitful community like Reuben because of like, it's like they say, when they were kicked out of the garden, Adam and Eve, and they put clothes on themselves, and then they built a house around themselves, and then they built a city around themselves, and you just like keep expanding the clothes so that and it's like when I look at my life on a day-to-day basis, and it's all of these distractions that I have available. It's not like I have to get up, do a task in my community, go to a class and learn something in my community, give back in some way, like because he had this almost monastic thing going on at the halfway home. and that was necessary because of what he lost. But like, I think I would almost have to change my life the way it is now, to go deeper, to find that place. You know, it's like when talking about there's notifications on your phone, you know what I'm saying? It's just like I'm constantly barraged. But it's like I go watch a TV. I don't have to go out and work from dusk to dawn, like trying to harvest crops and then go back to my empty house and stare at the fire. There's no reason for me to find that place of stillness.
I see what you're saying. Okay, so then you are answering the question in a roundabout way of saying like it is actually dependent. It does have something to do with externals. Like you are saying that when your environment is situated in such a way as to be able to either feed into what I'm talking about or at least not contribute to you being far from it, then that actually does make a significant difference. Like if you're at a house where you don't have any bills and you don't have a job and all you're doing is helping the deaf community and then you're going to classes and all this stuff, but it's all very, very, it's exclusive. It's a private place almost. Then it's easier to do these things. And yet we are called to do those things within the environment that we're in, right? So I'm just trying to figure out the nuance of that. Like, how do you do that no matter what your externals are? Because that's certainly right what Jesus did, even though he went alone a lot and went off to get those places, he still was that way no matter where he was.
Yeah, we have to get closer to zero. And I'm like, I don't want to be like, kind of reduce this down, but to like literal stuff, but it's almost like that. You have to get closer to zero in your life.
Right.
That's literally poor. I mean, you can extrapolate that to say like, poor how? What do you mean? Like, there's lots of ways to be poor, but like, that's just the simplest way to explain it. Like, blessed are the poor because they're closer to zero, and when you're closer to zero, you're closer to the kingdom in some mysterious way.
It's like Into the Wild, you know?
Yeah, like, I think he was trying to get closer to zero because of the chaos, you know? But that's what's so perfect about the zero that Ruben's close to, is because it's in a community, which is the one thing Chris McCandless was lacking. Like, you have to be responsible to other people and accountable to other people. I mean, and that's recovery, and that's the church, and that's family, and that's the nature of life.
I think I heard a sermon recently where the preacher was saying that the closer you are to God, the less you move around. Like, and it's kind of with this stillness thing where it's like, you're not so desperate for movement, just generally speaking, where your hands are moving, your eyes are moving, your thoughts are moving. There's this just sense of solid ground, I think they called it in Sound of Metal. And maybe that is the takeaway from the film, is that if you can carry that with you wherever you are, wherever you go, and there's certain like practices that you can do to kind of center yourself, I think that is the goal. I mean, the more that I'm rushing around, the less spiritual I feel.
Yeah, I think that's insightful. And to borrow the idolatry, the image of idols again, it's like, I have something in my house that washes my clothes. I have something in my house that makes me laugh. I have something in my house that cooks my food. But and so you're scrambling all, or I have this place in my town that I go to, get a bite to eat. You're just expanding the fulfillment of your needs. They're just scattershot, and that's like an idol. It's like, this idol makes sure I have a good harvest. This idol makes sure the rain comes. This idol makes sure that I have kids. And it's like when you scattershot the things that fulfill you, it's always worse. So this scales up and down and everywhere. These ideas.
Yeah, and it kind of ties the movies together in a way, because the back to basics idea, right? In Relay, that character is very much about embracing the old, simpler ways of doing things, right? I mean, he has his living room is full of vinyl records. He's clearly kind of earthy and kind of I don't know, there's a simplicity to him that is kind of monastic in a way.
There's something that I haven't fully appreciated in my life, but I'm getting closer to, and it has to do with what you're saying about what was the character's name in Relay? I can't remember. Him and Ruben.
Asher.
Ash, that's it. Yeah.
Ash.
They both have this. Even Ruben, before the hearing incident, before he moved into the home, had a regimented kind of life. Like he had a system. He woke, and we all kind of crave that simplicity. I think, even as we intentionally move further away from it. But also that's not the whole thing either. Somehow, like there's something about personhood that I keep thinking about when it comes to loss and stability and serenity. There's something about a person. What is it? Is it step 2? That's the higher
came
power.
To believe a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity.
And I know that gets spun a lot of different ways, but I think there's something in reality. I mean, obviously, I think this is a Christian that has to do with a person, that you have personhood, that God is a person, and that's why I think too. I talked about Joe trusting the process, and we talk about these characters trusting the program, and that's essential. But built into that is the trust of a person, a power greater than yourself, and I still don't think I fully in my heart like grasped that, but I feel sure of it somehow too.
That brings me back to Moneyball, of course. Like Billy being trusted, he's like it's a process, and the stuff with James is all about that, right? Like Bill James, the metric system and the math is the higher power for him. And when he can sort of surrender to that, which he does very happily, it works. And so there is a humility there, but also, I don't know, you have to have a higher power in your life in order to trust it. I think so many people are dependent on themselves, not necessarily because they don't want a higher power, but because they don't believe that there is one. They believe that they have to take care of everything and that they have to be self-sufficient, and that if they don't do that, then everything will crumble. But it's not because there's not this desire for there to be one. It's that there isn't one that they can trust that's available.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I think that instinct is there to want to depend on something that's reliable.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's somewhat self-evident, somewhat natural. And I keep bringing up Sound of Metal. I've brought up Sound of Metal like more times than I ever thought I would in the past week or so after watching it again. Just, it feels like it applies to so many situations. It's so frustrating when someone hasn't watched it, because I was like, I could really, speak to this. I feel like more if I had this movie in our shared back pocket. It's as powerful as it gets.
Yeah. So I don't know how to end this, because I feel like this is like these movies open up so much like conversation that I actually want to have. It's almost like the whole like exercise of the podcast is not actually for the films, but what the films enable me to talk about with the particular person. Mm-hmm. So with you, it was that whole thing of like, what does it mean to surrender? What does it mean to have acceptance, to be out of denial? And then how can we apply that to our daily life? But it seems like that's already something that you're doing, because you're calling it to mind so much and you're having those conversations. That's one thing I really like about you, is that I feel like you in your real life have these conversations with real people. They're not just all in your head.
Yeah, I hope so. I think so. I've been fortunate in relationships, but yeah, I agree with you that movies, they tend to be a great connection point for the things that
springboard. Yeah,
for the things that matter. And this one is way better than I expected. I noticed I had put it at number 2 on my, I did a top 10 list of year. I had put it number 2 that year. And so I know
what was number 1?
It was Minari. That would be funny. It was Minari, which I still love, but I think Sound of Metal ekes it out. It found me here at the right time again too, because there's so many things I need to be thinking about, and just the trust and what it means to love somebody like Joe does. I mean, he disciples Ruben in the most beautiful way I can imagine, and maybe in the way that only an older man who's seen a lot can do, or an older woman who's seen a lot can do, and just is willing to. He's not all about what makes Ruben feel good. He's about what's best for Ruben. And I think thinking about parenting, and I have a son in April, God willing.
Oh my gosh, what's the due date?
April 3rd or 4th, one of the two. And
so it could be 4/4. That'd be pretty
cool.
Cool.
Could be. It's just got me thinking more about what you have to do. And that relationship is like a skeleton key to so much, like a parent and a child, and how it scales up. And I watch, the Ruben to Joe relationship, and I think that it's so much a picture of just existence. And I just know that there's more to find out there. And so I'm really grateful that you asked me to come on and examine these 2 movies again. I think one was fun and impactful, and one was heartbreaking and impactful. But I know that it's just stirred up a lot. And as much as I've rambled, I feel like there's a lot. I'm a little bit closer. I'm a little bit closer to something or some things.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that it's perhaps, for me, it's great timing, because when I first saw it, I didn't know anything about anything that I know now. And I watched it with such a relatable lens, as opposed to it just being like a great performance. And I felt very much like I yearned to like have a mentor like Joe, but I also long to be Joe to others, to exhibit that kind of grace. But it's not just compassion. It's like empathetic. Like he knows what he's going through, and he's speaking to him where he is. And there's no judgment. There's no condemnation.
It's personal. It's relational.
Right.
And also, like, I like what you said, because I usually just want to be Ruben, because I never feel like I could ever in a million years be Joe. But you actually have to do that. Like, you have to play that part too. You have to get back. And it's not like Joe like knew that he had all the answers or something like that. He just he's just the guy in the chair. He's the guy sitting across from Ruben. And when you're the guy or the girl sitting across from somebody, that's who. I mean, you always want to be like, is there somebody better that can talk to, that can help them? Like, I don't know. And sometimes, but like, you're the person in the chair.
Yeah, that's a great note to end on. Thank you, Mitch, for doing this with me, and I hope that everybody sees Relay or has seen Relay. It was a lot of fun, but especially Sound of Metal. I think this was the perfect combination to do, starring the same actor, and it's been a pleasure. We'll see you at the movies.